probably go ahead and shut the door and they can just come sneak in after. All right, let's go. All right. Hello, Canon Design. Everyone here in Chicago, thanks for joining us. And hi to everyone who's joining us online. Just a couple quick logistics things. Here in Chicago, we're live streaming, so check that your phones are silenced. And for those of you who are looking for CEU credit, here in Chicago, we've got a sign-up sheet on the side of the room. Those of you in person, you should have a sign-up sheet as well. And then for everyone online, we will have some information at the very end of the presentation to get you those CEUs. So I'll hand it off to Tim Conway, who heads up sustainability at Shaw Industries. You may have seen them at our trade show earlier today or yesterday. And he will give a quick introduction as the sponsor of this event.
So Ken, thank you for having me. My name is Tim Conway. I manage the sustainability initiatives for Shaw Industries, largest flooring manufacturer in the world. And you know us as Packraft Commercial, one of our brands in Shaw Contract. So I'd say my role at the company is to try to translate what we do as a manufacturer to help you achieve your goals. Whether it's a project that takes you down a path, or maybe Emily and Eric and Yasha have given you these Canon goals that you're trying to achieve. But ultimately, I'd say it's my goal is that for my Packraft team, my Shaw Contract team, and our clients, they give us the ability to translate maybe our personal values and sustainability into our professional lives. And I see that happening at Canon, right? Something's changed over the past maybe 4 or 5 years because the collaboration, the conversations have changed, right? The questions that I receive from my account managers coming from Canada have changed. And I think it's because our values have changed. Our values are about the impacts in the work that we do together. And the impacts are driven by our choices. So largest manufacturer in the world, one of the largest A&D firms in the world. We don't own the materials that we manufacture. And you don't own the materials that you specify. The only thing that we own is our choices. So how do we look at owning these choices and directing these towards the impacts that we collectively share? So some scary things on there. How lucky are we that every single day when we come to work as architects, manufacturers, and design professionals to make choices that really have impacts on improving human health and well-being? As I think about Canon, how could you design a hospital that has no carcinogens or a school that has no endocrine disruption or reproductive toxicity? Every single day when we come to work, we have the ability to make choices around the climate impacts that we share in this collective fight against climate change. To make choices into how we design materials, how you design buildings, and how we activate the elimination of waste in a circular economy. So if you've known Shaw, if you've known Packraft, I'd say 25 years ago, we changed the industry in carpet tile. We were the first PVC-free, cradle-to-cradle, fully recyclable carpet tile in the world, and it's the only thing we've made for 25 years in carpet tile, and Canon has proven that work to be true, right? But our North Star has always been cradle-to-cradle. We started to work with Bill McDonough 25 years ago, looking at the North Star, the design principles of cradle-to-cradle, and as I look at our goals, whether it be Canon or other A&D firms, there's the AIA 2030 challenge. The Mindful Materials Common Framework to say we as design professionals are looking at the choices we make in materials around climate health, ecosystem health, circular, social responsibility. To us, that's cradle to cradle. So I don't want to get into the acronyms and talk about parts per million and the science of this, but what design signals does cradle to cradle tell us collectively? In human health and well-being, yes, we have HPDs, yes, we have declare labels, but cradle to cradle is that deep dive into human health, where these products have been evaluated third party by toxicologists at 100 parts per million per each ingredient. Can't get smaller than that, right? Can't have these 6 classes of chemicals, but screen it against the risk and hazards of things like carcinogens, reproductive toxicity, endocrine disruption, gene mutation, asthmagens, aquatic toxicity. right? It thinks about this product was designed for disassembly versus demolition. I encourage all of you to get engaged with my Shaw Contract and Packcraft team and talk about our return program. Our recycling program of flooring materials continues to show progress every year. Clean air and climate. We get these questions from you. Can you tell us what the global warming potential of this product is? What's the carbon footprint? Cradle to Cradle challenges us that every 2 years we have to show a reduction in climate impact, both operationally and carbon. So the carpet tile that I'm standing on right now, that was maybe manufactured 5 years ago, had a carbon footprint of about 12 kilograms of greenhouse gas per square meter. Today, that same product has a carbon footprint of about 4.5. So you've noticed from carpet tile, right? If it took us 25 years to change the industry in carpet tile, we're changing the resilient flooring industry. A year ago at Environmental Action Week at Canon, we introduced our PVC-free resilient flooring. It's called EcoWorks Resilient. It's a product that is competing with PVC in performance, exceeding it, but more importantly, it is competing with PVC, domestic PVC in price. And last year when I was in St. Louis, a design professional raised her hand and said, I'll try this. One of the first installations here is Canon Design at Maryville University in St. Louis. This is installed in a basement, a challenging area. But the product now is proving itself to be true, that it checks every box in design, checks every box in performance, and checks every box in sustainability. What makes it different? What's different is not just because it's PVC free, it's just a better product. Luxury vinyl tile, I don't think there's anything luxurious about it, is basically a PVC sandwich, right? It's all these different layers of PVC that are put together and pressed. This is a solid plank where we digitally print it into the plank, right? It has a 2,500 PSI, has better scratch resistance, it has better installation qualities, right? It's simply just a better product that has different construction and provides better results and checks every box around human health and well-being. Cradle to Cradle, HPD, Declare label, PVC free, right? It has a global warming potential of only 5.2 kilograms of greenhouse gas per square meter. Luxury vinyl tile is going to be in the teens, right? Fully recyclable. At the end of its time in service, we pick it up at no cost to your customer, and it can be recycled back into itself or be recycled back into EcoWorks carpet tile. Has 25% recycled content that comes from a very hard to recycle curbside municipal waste. Think yogurt containers, Tide bottles. So if it took us 25 years to change the carpet tile industry, I'm glad that we didn't give up, and I'm glad that we didn't stop innovating into EcoWorks Resilient. So the only thing that we own, right, is our choices. So all things equal, if design is equal, if performance is equal, if budget is equal, can we place the same value in human health and well-being, in the collective fight against climate change, and in the circularity of the choices that we make? And I think with EcoWorks and the platforms we have, I'm proud to say that sustainability should not be a privilege for a budget or a project that can afford it. It should be a right on every project we work on. So thank you for raising your hand, Canon. Thank you for changing the conversations. Thank you for changing the questions. And I think through that collaboration, we can start to address these challenges that we all face. So I appreciate you guys having me, appreciate the work we do together.
All right, thank you, Tim. Yeah, thank you for your sponsorship and support for this event, as well as just your ongoing partnership, helping us, select better materials for our projects. It's been great working with you and your team. And in terms of selecting better materials, I think our speaker today, her organization is putting out some of the best, just most accessible, most practical guidance out in the market in terms of how to select better materials and make those choices that Tim was talking about. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction, and then she'll take off. So this is Priya Premchandran, a seasoned sustainability practitioner, over 15 years of experience at the intersection of the built environment and human health. At Habitable, she leads the Informed initiative to transform the market towards better products that reduce pollution, mitigate climate change, and advance equity. So prior to joining Habitable, Priya held leadership roles at Google and various design and consulting practices worldwide. She holds a bachelor's in architecture, master's in architectural engineering. She's been a lead AP since 2005, which is sounds like forever ago, but
Right when it all started.
yeah, the green building world has changed a lot since then, and you've been with it every step of the way. So, 2018, she's recognized as a Living Future Hero. Received that award for her contributions to green building. And so, thanks for being here, and take it away.
Thanks, Emily. I really appreciate it. Oh, wow. Thank you. That's really nice. This is an AI-approved continuing education, and these are the objectives if you feel like digging into it. But this is truly an honor to be here and to have this opportunity to talk a little bit about the work that we do at Habitable. Much like many of you, I am deeply inspired by the role that the built environment plays in being able to change people's lives. And I believe, and at Habitable, we do this work primarily to ask the challenging questions that we have been asking for many, many years and decades. What is the role that the built environment can play? Sorry, I'm bumping into that. How do we actually address the challenges and the questions that we have? What is the role of the building products and the materials that we choose in the built environment, and the possibility to impact the future of the planet and the human health? And we know that with these questions, we're not only able to connect the dots between the decisions that we make on projects to the occupants that are in these buildings, but we actually have the power to connect the dot between the building product decisions that we make through our projects to the environment and the impact it can have on the environment, the communities that are often part of the ecosystem that we have. So we truly have the ability to shape and design the materials ecosystem at large through every project that we touch. And while today there are many friction points in the path that we have, we use on our projects to select materials, at Habitable, we believe that everyone can be a leader in leading this work because the science exists, the data is available, the tools are possible to build, and it exists to a large degree. And we can design buildings where every building is possible to be a healthy building. And this is also what we do at Habitable. So many of you know Habitable as Healthy Building Network. That was what we were called for about 24 years. And until we rebranded earlier this year to fully capture the depth and the breadth of our mission, which goes much beyond the built environment. And so through our work, what we do is advance the human and environmental health through research, through education, building guidance so that the industry can make the choices and take action in building a better future and building a better environment and protecting the human health. And because our mission is, and we truly believe that, people and planet thrive when the materials ecosystem is in balance with the natural systems. However, today we're in a moment of inflection. When we look at the planetary boundaries that is essential to hold the ecosystems and the processes that needs to be there in order for life to be habitable on Earth, we have blown past 6 out of those 9 boundaries, limits, one of which includes chemical pollution that is related to the toxics and the plastics related production. So by going past these thresholds, we're on the verge of increasing the risk to habitat and ecosystems and the health of the population. In the last year alone, there was almost 1 chemical accident per year across the US. Now, most of these chemical incidents were related to fossil fuels or fossil fuel derived products, such as plastics. What this also means is that not only the environmental damage that these incidents cause, but also these are incidents happening in the backyards of communities where people are being exposed to potentially irreversible damage to both health and their ecosystem as a result of these pollution. And often these communities end up being sacrifice zones where places like Louisiana that are now called Cancer Alley have 150 chemical plants that are manufacture some of the most toxic chemicals like vinyl chloride. And these communities are located within 1 mile of these industries. And often the population that are part of these communities are people who are most vulnerable, people of color and children who are continuing to be exposed to the detrimental impacts of these industries. So the question we should be asking is, how did we get here? How are we driving in the direction of having the such ecological damage and impacting human health to limits that are possibly irreversible? There are a couple of reasons that we all are probably very aware of. One of which is the lack of chemical regulation. A lot of the chemicals that exist in the supply chain today have not been tested for the impacts, for their toxicity. But the products that we choose to make decisions and to put it in through our projects often are made for these exact same chemicals. We also have, in addition to lack of regulation, we also have products that are not designed to be circular. So while taking the resources that are required to make these products and using them and having them end up in landfills. And when these products are made with toxic chemicals, it is hard to get rid of them. We are creating that pollution and that environmental damage and exposure to communities that are often located in locations that these products end up in. And we also are operating in a world where the information that we use to make decisions that are really important and critical, the information are imperfect, it is inconsistent, or at best, we really don't have the right information to make decisions. So, how do we change this paradigm? It is pretty clear that these problems that are pretty rooted in our ecosystem require us to really shift to a new paradigm, where we are building a new system, and we are eliminating a lot of the problems that come up with the current system. Because it is expected that in the next decades to come, that the building stock is only going to be doubled. So with every project that we're going to be working on and that is going to come online over the next several decades, we have the opportunity to make decisions that can have significant impact on both environment and human, and also the communities that often are impacted as a result of the supply chain decisions. But the current path, as you all know, and you experience probably on every project that you're involved in today, making healthier material choices and decisions are too hard. Because it's pretty time intensive, it requires a lot of resources that often the projects are not scoped for or do not have the ability to invest those resources. And a lot of the standards and certifications that we use today are not scalable. The decisions that you make on one project are very specific to that project and cannot be translated to another project. We also know that the way in which these decisions make and the timeline on the project at which point that these decisions makes are often beyond the tipping point of having any impact. So because a lot of the priorities that are related to cost and schedule are set pretty early in that design phase. And so it's really not conducive to the iterative nature of design that we really are, we have on our projects with the current approach. And there is no business case for healthy materials today because we do not have the ability to quantify what does it mean to choose a healthier product compared to the current business as usual. Unlike carbon and climate goals, we know we are able to quantify the impact that building materials have when it comes to reducing the carbon intensity of our projects. So with Informed, our goal is to eliminate a lot of these friction that you will experience today on your projects, streamline that approach, and we do this by basing it on science and nothing else. And our goal with Informed really is to empower every project team to make decisions that are rooted in science and are data-driven so that you're able to choose the products and make the decisions on the project that has an impact throughout the building life cycle. And that is important because the current approach offers us a very limited view on what the impact of the products that you have. The information that you have is only about the ingredients that go into the product, not about the overall impact that it can have throughout the building's life cycle. But with Informed, we use the science and the research to understand the impact that products have throughout that life cycle, because the product is truly only healthy if it's healthy for everyone in that ecosystem, everyone through that supply chain. And when doing that, what we're also able to do is not only building a healthy building, but also contribute towards building healthier communities across our ecosystem. So with Informed, what we really do is we have taken the many decades of research and that Habitable has built and translated that into an intuitive ranking system that goes from red to green. And this ranking system is based on the product types. So by choosing this ranking, you are quickly able to understand which of the product types should be eliminated or avoided because of the toxic chemicals, which are in the red, and prefer the ones that are more towards the green, because these are those product types that actually have been understood to have the most positive impact when it comes to environmental and human health. And this approach sets you up to ask a better question than what we are able to do today. Because by focusing our decisions on the products and the manufacturers that provide those products, what we're really able to do is ask a question that is incrementally only better, such as, which is the better vinyl flooring product? But with Informed, what we really want to do is open up the opportunities to really have a greater impact and ask the question, what is the most optimal and healthier flooring type that is best suited for, that meets the project needs? So in other words, how you use Informed is you use the red to green ranking under each product category to select the product types based on that ranking, and then identify the products that meet those product type needs and your project needs. So for example, how that works is, say you're looking for resilient flooring, we have created the guidance for flooring, identifying all the different flooring types under the product category, which is flooring. And by using this guidance, you are able to set a baseline for what you want your project to focus on when it comes, and the types of products in that particular category. So for example, if you set a target for choosing products that are only orange and above, you are immediately able to start to narrow your priorities around those particular product categories based on that ranking. And so in this particular case, you have all these options, and you know that while you have options in the orange category, you also have an option that is available in the marketplace with solutions that you can choose from that are in the yellow category. So you're not only setting the baseline, but you're also able to demonstrate that it is possible to exceed that baseline and really have the impact that you truly want on your projects. And that holistic approach where you're looking at the product impact throughout the life cycle is important, because today we take a very siloed approach when it comes to balancing the needs of projects and the material decisions between carbon and health. And with the whole life cycle approach, we're really able to really compare and align those priorities so that when we do make decisions on carbon, we're also making sure that those decisions are positively impacting the human health from a material health standpoint. And so where we are today is we have guidance across 16 product categories that ranks the product types within each of those categories based on the ranking that we have developed. And soon we will be adding 2 more categories, windows and cladding, to this guidance, so that that information also is accessible for you all to use on your projects. And so the reason we believe Informed really works is it really takes the guesswork out of what you have to do when it comes to specifying healthy materials. You do not need to be an expert. I know in my past career, I had to not only be an architect, but also a material chemist in order to really understand what the disclosures and the information that we get, what does that really mean? So, And by using the ranking system that we've developed, we're able to quickly understand, what the impact of the product types are, and be able to set those goals for your project. That helps us help you move in the right direction when it comes to product selections. And this approach also allows you to make decisions that in much earlier to have the most impact that you can on your projects. Excuse me. And while this represents change, we also know that progress cannot happen until we have the courage and the power and make the decision to really change. And why change really matters is because we know today, majority of our buildings today are significantly contributing to the pollution and the ecological disruption that we're experiencing. What this graph over here shows is that, most of building and construction sector is increasingly becoming a significant contributor to plastics, which are based on petrochemicals, which are relying on fossil fuels. So while we're thinking about shifting an energy supply system to be, free from fossil fuel reliance, we're making decisions on our products when it comes to building products that are heavily relying on those same fossil fuels because of it being made of plastics. And what that really means is that, a lot of what we pay attention to today as a consumer and out in the retail is that reducing single-use packaging. But all the packaging that we reduce in a year accounts for 1.2 million tons of carpet alone that gets discarded. That's just one product in our project that contributes almost equally. There is a lot of progress being happening on the retail side with packaging and where the plastics are really heavily concentrated. We're shifting that focus into our building products, and which is worth paying attention to. And with Informed, this is the kind of data and the science that's baked into that ranking and the decisions where when you look at the products that are in the orange or in the red, we're also taking into consideration the impact it has on the plastics, and as a result on the climate change and the emissions as a result of that. So if we were to make the choice of reducing carpet by 50% across the office building market sector alone, that one change in one product type can alone eliminate 33 coal plants from offline 1 year, can reduce 50% of plastic waste generated in 1 year, and 45,000 of rail cars, the vinyl chloride that would be going through communities and potentially risking for a disaster. And when we do say no to products that have the worst in class of chemicals, what we're also doing is opening up opportunities for innovation, opening up opportunities for other products to really be part of the solution. This is an example of hempcrete being used in Lower Sioux Indian community in Minnesota. Now, this is a community that is going through a housing crisis. And they have looked at hempcrete as a solution to not only solve for that crisis, but also say no to a lot of the potential risks that they might be exposing themselves to using ready available, market available solutions. So here we are, by making decisions that have an impact on not just climate and health, we're also setting up communities to be successful, to solve their own crises, such as housing shortage, and create jobs. So innovation is possible. And when we innovate in the materials economy and the materials ecosystem, we're also seeing those benefits across the whole ecosystem in other ways. And so we can make progress. We can be a leader because the solutions exist in the marketplace. And it is how we choose to be a leader that really makes the biggest impact. And by taking action, that is how we start the first steps toward taking leadership. So today, Informed is used in many different ways across the industry. We have community of practice where different market sectors, housing and healthcare and workplace, are using Inform, where communities of practitioners are coming together, working with supply chain, working with manufacturers to find those solutions, to test ideas, to innovate, and really sort of signal the marketplace from the demand side that, better options are needed when it comes to building products. And saying and eliminating and requiring that, we eliminate the worst in class of chemicals completely out of the supply chain. We also have built tools and processes that allow for this guidance to be seamlessly integrated into your design process. So working with many architecture firms across the country where Informed is part of how they design their buildings, how they specify the materials, and how they integrate that into the decisions that made through every project. And when you start integrating it more holistically, these are decisions that start to scale across your practice and really start to see the benefit in terms of efficiency and streamlining. We're also partnering with third-party standards like LEED and WELL, where this is now a credit that we're piloting, so that not only when you do the work of using a different approach and using the Informed guidance, you're able to also make the business case for that investment and demonstrate the impact that the projects are having through the third-party standards, which are great tools that are available for us to really demonstrate the impact. And we're also partnering with a lot of industry leaders who trust Informed because it is based on science, it's based on facts, and it is able, and they are able to measure and quantify the decisions that are made based on the Informed guidance, and make the business case for why it matters to build healthier buildings and the impact their projects can have, not just on their customers and the end users, but also throughout that ecosystem. And it is also why leaders in the industry really believe that the Informed guidance can be trusted because of the science, independent science that is behind the guidance. So I hope that this presentation was helpful in really helping understand that change is possible, solutions exist, and the guidance that we have developed through Inform really can be applied on your project. So it is what I would like to, what I would like to request, Canon Design is really to commit to stepping up and taking action. Let's say no to those product types that are ranked red, and we have opportunities where we're running pilots, through the Autodesk plugin and through the standards that we would love to have one of your projects really try out and participate. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I guess we'll just take questions after this.
Thank you, Priya. And any questions in the room? I had one come in online, so I can start there.
Okay,
It's really just a question about kind of implementation, how this looks on a project. The question was that we do a lot of LEED projects here at Canon. So can you talk a little more about how Informed interacts with LEED and helps projects earn those credits?
Yeah, so is this on? This is on, okay. Let me just come out there. So like I mentioned, we're working with LEED where we have where you have credits that are incentivizing for the use of Informed product guidance. So that is one way that you can approach. But with LEED, what we're really trying to do over here is to really make decision making around products to be much more earlier in the project design and much more integrated into how design is really approached. So while this pathway is really about what is the decision around products really based upon? With LEED, the way we're partnering with is to really help projects to really understand and demonstrate, the impact that you have as a result of the decision that you make in project. And so hopefully, once we're done with the pilot with LEED, we're hoping that that becomes a full credit into LEED, but we're ways away from that. So.
Now, one more about implementation, which is just how do you access the tool? Is there a subscription? How do I get there when I'm...
Yeah, so there's no subscription right now. It's guidance that is hosted on our website. So if you go to Habitable, it's inform.habitablefuture.org. I think we probably have a link on our presentation, but if you go online on Habitable, you should be able to see the Informed as part of that. And all the product guidance, that 16 product categories that I showed, is on there on that website. And so you should be able to kind of pull up any of those product categories and really understand what the ranking is for each of those product categories. And really, also, there is very in-depth details in terms of why we rank certain product types within each product category. Like, what is that methodology? There are details about the methodology and what is the reason for a certain product type being ranked a certain,
Yeah,
certain rank.
definitely. Like I've looked at this before, and yeah, I think just seeing the research that went in, like you make that really visible.
Right.
And
Yes.
Yeah, so we can see it's not just hey, avoid PVC, but it's like here's why we're avoiding PVC.
Right, and what that
what
also-
parts of the supply chain it impacts.
Exactly, and what that and the reason behind that not only is to bring transparency and really help you understand what the science is, but when you do have conversations with your clients, when you do have conversations with the supply chain, with the manufacturers who you have been working with, this is not just us telling us like this is wrong or this is right or this is us bringing the science to the conversation so that we all collectively can solve this problem. And so part of it is also, the place to start is really around, let's educate ourselves. Let's understand why we're concerned about products and what are the reasons for that. And when we do solve this, how do we actually solve that? What does that look like? And also to really be, clear on not only why this matters, but also when we do it, how do we know we've achieved that?
There's one question too, starting to get technical about the Revit plugin.
Right.
How that integrates. So I think as soon as I saw Revit logo on the screen, I was like, someone's gonna ask about that.
Yes. So
It's
good news is, and I think
how-to.
I think many people from Canon Design have signed up for this already. So we've been working on developing this Revit plugin for almost a year right now, and so exciting news, we're now ready to launch it. The pilot part, it's not commercially available. It's still very much in a pilot stage, and we need to get feedback from practitioners like you all. So next week on October 22nd, we have a webinar where we're going to talk about what the pilot is, what the plugin is. We're going to demonstrate it, and so yeah, come join that. And I think many folks from Canon Design have signed up for it already. But if you have not, and if you're interested, please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to connect you all.
And there's one question about selecting materials. That folks are asking, what products are meeting these goals? Or is there a list of manufacturers to reference? I know you said you don't specifically reference manufacturers, you're just looking at content of products.
Yes.
But I think I think these questions are really getting at like how feasible is it to hit those green targets? What categories are you seeing that are like it's really available, really widely available? Which ones are more challenging?
Yeah, that's a great question. What we're really trying to do, in terms of where market solutions really exist today in most categories, I would say some categories are better than the others. Paint is one example that I can give you where, while it's really simple in terms of what it means to actually be optimal paint, it is hard to achieve today just because of one is a lack of transparency and understanding, which of the products that are available in the market really do not have those chemicals of concern like the APs and the PFAS. So that is one challenge, that we have to grapple with and that we have to overcome, which again gets back to the question in terms of gets back to what I was talking about, which is it's not just about, saying, okay, this is what we want, but it's also about opening up those conversations in terms of what do we really need to work towards in terms of. So to answer that question some more simply, yes, there are some categories where the product does exist. And maybe, it is a matter of really trying out what those products are on your next project. But in some categories, it is having that conversation to really make those products more readily available in the marketplace.
Hi.
Hi.
Great presentation. This might also be a question to Shaw Carpet too, so
Sure.
you can both respond. We've all been hearing in the last year or so, plasticizers and drinking out of plastic bottles are harmful to our bodies because it's in our bloodstream. Okay, all of these plasticizers and bad chemicals. When it comes to recycling products, such as, and I talked to one of your reps yesterday about this topic. How careful is the industry getting in that we're not taking those bad plastic bottles and recycling it into our carpet, especially for a daycare facility where kids are crawling around on the carpet? So we're just putting it from one product into another product,
Right.
even though it's great for the industry in a green recycling situation. But is the industry also looking at those chemicals of some of those bad plastics as we're, potentially migrating them into reusable products?
Yeah, I'll say that, that is very much part of what we are looking at when we're looking at the product life cycle, because we know that today's supply chain is taking the waste that's created by one part of the ecosystem and putting it as part of part of another ecosystem, and that's not a solution really, right? What we really need is to eliminate those plasticizers completely. And that's really what we're trying to address, by through our ranking system and also by looking at product life cycle throughout, because we do know that current practice right now is a lot of what we're talking about. But again, it is, that we have to have that conversation with those who make products to really make sure that, when we're talking about creating healthier products, we're not shifting the problem, we are truly solving that problem. But
So, two things. I want to get to the plasticizer and then also talk about our recycling. So our products that we recycle is EcoWorks carpet tile, cradle to cradle. And that's the only thing that we recycle at no charge. So we can't take a PVC carpet tile and turn it into a PVC-free carpet tile, or take a polyurethane cushion tile, turn it into that. Likely those would be downcycled waste energy. And I've got an angel and a devil on my shoulder. I don't know which one's right. Right? Be quite honest with you. Now, plasticizers is what makes the plastic flexible. So in PVC, in a pipe, hard, right? Then they add a plasticizer to it to make it flexible. 10, 15 years ago, the plasticizer that was used was called orthophthalates. And you're right, it's in us, right? Dangerous, dioxin, right? I'll say that they have gotten rid of, and they've replaced the orthophthalate with some other plasticizer, right? But that's where you typically would see that, right? So a lot of the luxury vinyl tile that you referenced isn't recyclable because of the plasticizer chemistry that was in it, right? So where do we find ourselves is trying to fix a really, really huge problem at the end of a really, really big pipe. Like my goal is to eliminate the manufacturing of not plasticizers in the flooring industry. I want to eliminate the manufacture of that chemical altogether. The same thing for PFAS. Heather Henderson, our friend at Harvard, is like, my goal is not to eliminate PFAS and PVC for the 28 million square feet at Harvard. I want everyone to listen to the science and eliminate the manufacturing of these chemicals altogether. So when we do recycle plastics, number 5s, PET bottles, that has to go through the cradle-to-cradle evaluation at that 100 parts per million to eliminate those 6 classes of chemicals, thank you, Arlene Bloom, right? To make sure that it is safe, healthy ingredients that can be perpetually recycled, right?
One more question.
Sure.
Are you involved in, can you share any status updates about any policy or regulation to better police these chemicals of concern?
We're not involved in any policy actively. That's not the role we play. Our role is more focused around the science and the research and bringing awareness and education and really empowering, those in the industry who really have to make the decisions and build projects and make the business case, to your clients. And so we do We do support those who work in policy because they are also reliant on science and the research that we have. And so our role is mostly focused around just bringing more awareness and building the tools and solutions that the market really needs to drive change, but also supporting, those who are really pursuing the policy route. So.
All right, thanks. And do you also have guidance around manufacturer take-back programs? Do you have any guidance available on kind of distinguishing between the ones that are really walking the walk and the ones that are just kind of making promises that they can't fulfill?
No, we're not focused around the actual products or anything, but obviously, we do hope that take-back programs really do work, because a lot of what our research says is that, again, talked about the carpet industry, which has one of the best recycling programs in the whole industry compared to any other product. The recycling rate still is just 0.45% of all carpet that actually gets recycled. So it's a question for us to really ask, is that the best, and is that the investment? Is that where the investment needs to be going, where we create products that have harmful chemicals and toxics, and only to really kind of create a whole infrastructure to deal with them, after its end of life, and often much before its useful end of life or useful life, to create more waste that now has to be addressed in other ways. So.
Thanks. And I think finish it off with probably the best comment, which was, we want Canon Design to be on your list of partners.
And we want that too.
The follow-up question to that was, where do we start as a firm? Is there a kind of firm-wide policy that some of your partners have to use this guidance? Is there a kind of how-to for early design? Where do we jump in?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that we need firms like Canon Design to really drive this work forward and take action, because you're really the ones who are going to change this world, change the ecosystem as we, and so we're here to really absolutely partner with you. And so I would say the way to do that is let's talk, let's work on it together. So
Wonderful.
We're really excited.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all the Q&A that came in. So unless either of you has any closing words.
I'm happy to stick around and answer more questions if anyone wants to, but thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And I guess that's how you get your credits for being here.
Thank you, Priya.
Yeah.